Hello and welcome to the tutorial for RemotePro. I'm going to show everyone how to use the GUI portion of RemotePro to interact with Milestone XProtect VMS. So we are going to want to use the main command of the module, which is start RP RemotePro. Once you enter that command, it's going to load the GUI portion of RemotePro, which is hosted inside your PowerShell terminal. So if you notice that if I try to type here or anything like that, it's not going to do anything. It's because it's busy using the thread of this terminal to open this window. So now I'm going to give some quick explanations on these tabs and what they do. So manage connections, you can create a connection file and import it. That's going to create a basic Excel sheet, and it's going to have some columns for you to fill out to add in different sites. You can then use that same file to import it into RemotePro, which will then use MilestonePSTools to connect to each site that you enter for each row. Very similar to this right here. So if I wanted to add or delete or view, I can do that right here as well. So for example, I'm going to view site K, and it's just going to pull up the information here in a little pop-out window. If I wanted to delete it, I select it, hit delete, click yes, and now it's gone. So anytime I do any modifications here, it's going to update in this dropdown as well. And this is how we'll connect to our VMS. So I'm going to pick site A up here, and I'm going to hit connect, and there's going to be a small delay. We're connecting to our management server right now, and now that we're connected, we can come back over here, and this is populated. So we have some basic information that I provided for each site that you're connected to. You can see the management server here, and any associated reporting service. So if you have more than one, it's just going to keep adding them down here, and you can scroll down to view some information about them. Okay, so we're going to send off a command here now that we're connected. I'm going to open up this menu, and you can see a couple of these here. This is ticket block. It's going to give you some information about a camera. This is going to generate a camera report. This one will show you live video. This will show you some of the items that are available in the VMS to select. Show hardware is going to show all the hardware devices, similar to the camera report. And show item state is an approach to kind of just viewing what cameras are on the network and up. The VMS can view them in a sense and communicate with them, so you'll get a quick summary of like all the devices in your VMS. I'm going to start out with this one and just hit show item state. And this is using PSWrite HTML, which is another PowerShell module. And I'm using that to actually display the results from this command in your browser. So it's just going to select whatever you have for your default browser, and it's going to output the information for you to view. So for instance, let's say we got rid of this window, our PowerShell window, and we just had these open. Let me get this to a decent size. You can see here, all of these button clicks are necessarily, you don't have to have multiple PowerShell instances open for it to work, but it is using multiple PowerShell instances through run spaces. But what that offers us is the ability to kind of do more than one task at once. So let's say I want a camera report. You can see that the job was added. Hardware report, that one was added as well, and they're actually processing right now. You've seen these come up. We ended up with, I may have clicked that twice. And this is just for test purposes. I do have it showing passwords that can be disabled, but all of the results that we have from those button clicks are actually being output over here. And this run space log is just kind of more for like troubleshooting if you're having issues with any of the commands. If it throws an error, it'll report it here. But the neat thing is that you can endlessly generate output from any of the commands. And one of the nice things is with PSWrite HTML, you can sort, export, and view everything that's output. Especially for camera reports, because let's say you wanted to view all cameras using H.264, you can just click it and it's only going to show you those. You could export to PDF, Excel, CSV. So that's just a quick little summary. I just wanted to show that. Another cool feature is camera information. I'll close this one down just to make this a little bit more clear. So I'm going to select the front doorbell. When I click that, this information right here, I can just copy it. So it's quick. Like if I wanted to take this and put it anywhere else for whatever workflow, process anyone has, and they just wanted this information, you can click it and it's in your clipboard and you can paste it. Passwords can also be excluded. Once again, most cases you do want to easily view the password information for troubleshooting. So that's kind of the approach that I have with this right now. Now, if you wanted to view a camera, do this PTZ one. I have it set up to where it's also giving me the camera information, but now we're viewing the live stream of the camera, which is very cool to be able to do through PowerShell. You can view playback, and you could actually hit this tab and hit play, and it's going to cycle the last recording. Why is that useful? So you can easily just see really quick on the fly what happened to a device before it went down. Did it just lose its connection, or was it damaged? It's a really cool way to troubleshoot it quickly. These are in progress right now, but I'm gonna add like essentially any settings that I add to RemotePro for this window. You're gonna be able to modify the values here or add them. I kind of just have it as like a kind of open space right now. If people wanted to add things, modify anything, develop with it, you can just add variables here that will be accessible to the entire module. This section's very cool because all of these button clicks actually have commands linked to them in the background. So if you wanted to modify any of the parameters, which a great example would be the cam report, get VMS camera report. I just call it the cam report. I can come over here, check the box, and hit edit. And it looks like a lot, but it depends on how many parameters there are for each command. So in this example, let's say I wanted to show cameras that were disabled. I could set this to false, or I could do it the PowerShell way and put the $ in front for the variable false, which is a Boolean, and that will actually show cameras that are also disabled. I do have it parsed, so if you just wrote false, that'll work out for you. You could also delete. Let's say I accidentally had all of these selected and go to delete these. If I come over here and try to do ticket block, should get an error. Yep, error occurred. You can no longer call a method on a null valued expression. Anyways, how do we fix that? I click this and it actually just resets it to like a default setting, which is mainly going to be used by anyone that's not developing with it. So it's like a kind of like a safety check. If anyone deletes anything, it's not the end of the world. You could also filter by typing in here if you wanted commands that started with get. It's always going to filter by command name, so that's a big part of each button click, is kind of knowing the commands behind it. Interestingly enough, this right here for PS-Write HTML, any of the commands that have output into the browser, those are all controlled by one command. It just gives you some options, because when you just only have a button and you're like, oh, how do I modify this for this command? It kind of gives you some leeway and be able to do that. Right here are just all the paths that are used by the module. Most of them are either using the default PowerShell installation location, which is Documents, Windows PowerShell modules. You'll find RemotePro in there. That's where it'll install. And these are your app data local files, which is just a nice space that's going to be easily accessible for development. There's some config files and things in there if you wanted to view them, more for troubleshooting or development. Up top, you can switch the layout if you want to. Not really that useful. If you find a use for it, let me know. If you run into any issues, you can hit report issue. It's going to pull you up to GitHub. No, we're doing great. No issues yet. And just some other stuff here, license, whatever. If you want to exit the terminal, you can do it here. Just exit out. And finally, if you want any more information, anything about this, I do have a doc site. This isn't it. This is the PowerShell gallery. You can go here to install it. That's the command. I do have a section on the docs page for that. And then this is the docs page. If you have any if you're looking for information on how to install, there's an installation guide, configuration guide. If you're developing, I got plenty of documentation on how the commands work. I will be putting together essentially like a flowchart that kind of shows how like the main controller object works and how you can access it. And I will eventually get some information on how to modify or add a button in the code easily. I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, I also just want to cover here too, in the unreleased section, if I plan to release anything and it hasn't, I'll put it here. And then this is just a history of all the changes I have made since I've posted this on GitHub. And in the future, this is currently under construction. I'm actually probably going to put this video here. This is going to give you some information on tips or tricks or just cool ways to utilize RemotePro that you may not have thought of. Or if I add a new feature, I most likely will post it in here with an explanation on how to use it. All right, well, I thank everyone for watching, and if you have any questions, reach out to me on GitHub or LinkedIn. On here, I have some social links, and you can easily report an issue, anything that comes across right here under issues, which you can also access in RemotePro. Right here, report issue. All right. Thank you. Bye, guys.